October 3rd, Board of Trustees special call meeting to order. If I can have your attention, please. All right, entertain a motion for the adoption of the agenda.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda with the following changes: to move item 5A, which is public comments for agenda items, up to following 1C, so it'll be before we go into executive session, and then to have non-agenda item public comments in that 5 spot. So those would be non-agenda item public comments.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All right, properly moving second. All in favor, I know by saying aye.
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 Is there any opposes? Thank you so kindly. Ayes have it.
Got on the call.
At this time now, we'll have our public comments.
And who do we have in online?
Online, we have Chris Frazier, Cindy Bond Coates, Priscilla Jeffries, and Jarita Postaway.
Okay.
And I'm on the line now. It's
Joyce.
Joyce.
Joyce and Joyce Green is also on the line.
Mr. Chair, I'm on board docs. Are we going to vote through board docs or voice vote?
We're going to do voice voting today.
Okay.
Okay, so public comments, Mayor Tecklenburg, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning. And if I may, on a separate matter, I just want to thank the board for working with the city so closely over the last few months to come up with a improved plan for safety for our children on all our schools. And it took quite a cooperation and collaboration on the city's part and our police department, along with Mr. Reidenbach and your school district staff. But we really have, I think, the best path going forward, which includes our city's rapid response team, along with the school resource officers. That combination is really a terrific one. And so I just want to thank you all for helping us work all that out. Now, to the matter at hand regarding this tax increment finance district, I want to thank y'all for the good progress we made at the committee meeting just the other day, the Finance Committee, and y'all's acknowledgement of participation in this new district, which really is a reformulation, as you know, of an existing district. But I must admit to you fault on my information, and that was presented to the committee in these documents that we've been sharing. It was noted that the NEC area TIF expires in the year 2043, and in fact that wasn't the case. I verified after our meeting that in fact the current NEC area TIF expires in 2039, or 20 years from now. And why that's important is, if you remember from the cash flows that were given to you of investment and then the resulting increment that would benefit in the infrastructure improvements that can be made, it really doesn't get going until about year number 5.
Yes.
And so if we only have 20 years for this cake to bake, and you take 5 years off of it just to kind of get started, that only leaves 15 years. We had originally, as you know, asked for 30 years, and so I'm going to respectfully ask that you consider making this a 25-year period, tax increment finance district timing. And I think it's a very reasonable request because, number one, the county has pulled their property out of this proposed district. Redevelopment will occur there very robustly. The school district will benefit from tax revenue from that rather expensive improvement to come. And in addition, there are 2 other parcels that were originally included that are south of Sanders Clyde School that already are moving forward in the development process. So the properties that we've taken out will bring significant revenue to the school district in the immediate future. And we really need the time, given the amount of infrastructure that's required to build on this former landfill site. 15 years honestly will just result in a half-baked cake. And so I respectfully ask for y'all's consideration. I appreciate your willingness to participate as agreed the other day, but if you would kindly consider amending your motion to extend this to 25 years, that will give us the opportunity to get this done, and that will bring really meaningful income both to the city down the road and to the school district as well. I'm happy to address any questions that anyone might have and appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Next is Mayor Riley.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, members of the school board, not only for the time before you today, but for your service. As I've said many times, but I have to say it every time, it's the most important public service job in our community. You're working for the children and for their futures, so I thank you very much. It's only right and prudent that the school district carefully scrutinizes proposed tax increment financing districts, because the school district needs to support a robust, growing tax base that will benefit the school district and its children. Exceptions prove the rule, and this is a tax increment financing district that can only happen with a substantial tax increment financing plan. And I have no financial interest in this. I'm not working for anybody. I'm doing this because of my carryover public service role as mayor of Charleston, and I saw the potential for this landfill area to the community, to the school district, and to the community in so many ways, economically, and the wonderful community amenity that will be given by having waterfront access all around the edge of this, which will be connected to the inner city or any place else you can come, or the low line and bring you there. And it will be a nationally significant, extraordinary achievement. And then within the Laurel Island development will, as you know, include affordable housing, very important as well. This being where the landfill and the garbage was ground up and dumped and all of that, a huge expense to make it developable, because it's basically all on what was marsh. So if you don't pile, it will sink. And then to access to it can only happen with a bridge, a well-tastefully designed bridge to go over the railroad, because the Volvo and BMWs are going to be using that track forever, and long trains and all like that. So it requires a huge upfront investment before any land on it could be sold, or for any buildings could go on the tax base, and therefore the front end of a huge expense of all the piling and all of the and the bridge and the roads and all like that is, as Mayor Tecklenburg said, would likely mean that it may be 4 years or so before any property on it could be sold, and maybe 5 years before any property could be developed. So you've got that lead time of huge investments without any return. So you kind of should maybe subtract 5 years from whatever the TIF is in terms of its meaning. And so we feel, and I agree, and again, I'm just doing this as a volunteer, that with the 25-year TIF, if you say, well, 5 years, you know, they're not going to be making any money, that could work. I think if it's reduced beyond that, it really, I believe, renders this impossible. It could come up in another form, not such a good form. I mean, it could be they can't do it, and then some hotel developer says, we'll buy the whole thing and build 2 hotels, it'll be all private and all like that and everything, and it won't be that much of a tax base, and it won't have any real value to the community except from economic development. This is an extraordinary opportunity to give waterfront property for the benefit of all of our citizens forever. Just quickly, I've studied Chicago, and you know, they have on Lake Michigan, they did the Daniel Burnham Plan, and 22 of the 26 miles of lakefront on Chicago has public access. It's a tremendous achievement they did back 100 years ago that they said, well, so I think if you look at Laurel Island and that in perpetuity, you will have walks and sidewalks and bikeways and everything for the public to enjoy one of the most beautiful spots in America. The bridge and the water and the harbor and all of that is just extraordinary. So we would ask most respectfully and with great appreciation to you and your colleagues that you look at this understanding the hurdles that exist and allow the length of the TIF to be 25 years, which will enable it to be done and done in a manner of great benefit to the region. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Riley. And then we have Gina Voorhees, last topic for, and this is on the TIF. Oh, only on the TIF, yeah. But not, after we go into executive session and come back out, we'll have public comment for items not on the agenda. So we'll wait till then. Okay, got it. All right. So I make a motion that we go into executive session.
All right, second.
Second, so moved. We'll now enter into executive session, and we'll return back briefly. Okay, we will now return to open session.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion and then comment on it, please.
Okay?
I would motion to approve the resolution approving the removal of the Laurel Island properties from the Charleston Neck TIF district and agreeing to the school district's participation in the Morrison Drive TIF district for a period of 20 years terminating on December 21st, 2039. And that's,
Second.
and then if I could please make a comment on that.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. First, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Mayor, Mr. Clement, I just wanted to thank you very much for being here today and just in explanation for what we're going through with, and we have spent, I've spent probably 20 hours on this over the last, since we got it, and in committee meetings and discussing with the CFO and our council on it. The real, it is not an issue. We don't want to stop anything from happening or to not participate. The main issue is Act 388 has just fundamentally changed over the last 13 years our ability to generate revenue, and we're forecasting in years 2 and 3 out that we're hitting deficits that we can only make up with commercial property. And this board for the last 4 years has max raised taxes every year to be able to keep up with that so that we can, for teachers paying and everything else. And so in looking at those last 4 years, they could be nothing. They could be, projected 50 to 60 million that would be given up. And so this was to try to participate as much as we could. But and with Tuesday's meeting, I went back and after the change in dates, I went back and checked with all committee members just to make sure to see if their recommendation changed, and they felt like it was. They were willing to do it through the end of the TIP, but were not willing to do it in a way that would further obligate the district to take revenues off the table. But so, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, the motion has been made and has been seconded. Are you ready for question? I will begin by asking those that's on the phone first. How do you vote? Cindy Bond Coates? Okay, just 1 second. We will.
Motion to approve the resolution approving the removal of the Laurel Island properties from the Charleston Neck TIF district and agreeing to the school district's participation in the Morrison Drive TIF district for a period of 20 years terminating on December 21st, 2039.
Okay, did you hear the motion, Reverend Collins?
Yes.
Okay, all right, we'll begin on the phone. Cindy Bond Coates?
Yes.
Chris Frazier,
Aye.
Joyce Green,
Yes.
Reverend Collins,
Yes.
Kevin Hollenshed,
Aye.
Priscilla Jeffries,
Yes.
okay, Todd Garrett,
Yes.
Kate Darby,
Yes.
and I vote yes, and that motion carries unanimously. And at this time now, we have public comments
Yes, sir.
for non-agenda items.
Yep, we have 2 people here for public comment on non-agenda items. The first is, and we have our 2-minute time limit, which Erica's going to be keeping. So Devin Wade is first, or Gina is going to go first. All right, Gina Voorhees. And hold on while you're walking up there. Somebody on the phone is making a lot of noise. Can whoever that is, can they mute their phone, please?
Hi, good morning. You all know me by now.
Yes.
I am here to express concern over the proposed changes to Buist. Yesterday, I learned that the proposal to change Buist is actually changing again, and I wonder if CCSD board members are aware of this. First, it started off with moving Buist to Meminger, or merging it with Meminger. Then it was the middle school moving to like a middle school mall at the Mitchell campus. Yesterday, I learned they're now proposing moving the elementary school to Mitchell. These proposals keep changing all the time, and first of all, there's been no public comment about this. I've reached out for information, and no one has given any detail on this latest change, which I learned about yesterday. Honestly, I feel like the Buist students are in a pinball machine. Between Meminger, Mitchell, there's no clear plan for the proposal. This is a clear indication to me that this is too much of change, too fast. The ramifications need to be studied in detail before any big changes are made. Clearly, more research is needed. These proposed changes seem to be very haphazard, and we need more time, more research, and more transparency with the public. I applaud CCSD for going out to the schools and to the community, but now you're having listening sessions, but we did the listening session last week at Buist, and now the change has happened again yesterday, but no one has come to the public to say that. So we really don't have a clear understanding of what's going on. So I would ask for transparency, and I would ask for more time. I don't understand how a vote is going to be made in November when we don't even know what the actual proposal is yet. So again, this is too much, too fast, and the ramifications need to be studied. Thank you.
Okay, and next is Devin Wade.
Hi. I'm a parent also in D20, and just sort of echoing what Gina had said regarding the mission critical changes, not just to Buist, but all the downtown schools, the North Charleston schools, the way that the plans keep changing. I would like to know what the plan is, just to even come up with ideas or a plan, how you're all organizing this. I know that you've done research, but how is that research organized? Then we come up with ideas, then we present ideas, then we get feedback, but when the ideas keep changing, it's really hard for anyone to follow. And as Gina said, from where we sit in the community, it's incredibly haphazard. If you do have some sense of organization around this, I would like to ask you to share it with the community, not at 11 a.m. on a Thursday or at a coffee at rush hour or school drop-off on Friday, but write it down step by step. What have you been doing? How do you plan to move forward? What is the organization around any of this? Publish an op-ed in the Post and Courier. Sit down for a long-form interview with Jenna, not a well-crafted quote that you can give her or something on the news tonight. A long-form interview, an op-ed. Tell us what you're doing and how you're going about it. Be transparent with the community in a way that is accessible for the entire community, not the few of us that can show up in the middle of a workday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just real quick, I wanted to make sure you all know, I think you're aware of when the listening sessions are, but we do have a listening session for D20, October 10th at 6 PM at Burke. And I would just quickly say, the recommendation about Buste and Memminger was not a recommendation from staff or the board. I was from a mission critical team. The board has received the recommendation that we got at our September committee of the whole meeting. And we're now listening through the listening sessions, and there probably are different ideas. I've heard different ideas come from some Buste parents, and so there's no formal recommendation change. None of that has changed. We're just listening to ideas, and people may be throwing out ideas. And I would suggest y'all come, if you can, to a committee of the whole or board meetings, but there's no definite, and nobody has said we have to vote on this in November. I'm sure we'll vote on things in October and November and December, but we haven't said we're going to take the time we need to make a good decision.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, we typically don't.
Yeah.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
we can do that
You can
after,
do it
if we can do that
afterwards.
after the board meeting, yeah,
Yes.
it's over, yep.
All right. This concludes our public comments. I entertain a motion for an adjournment.
So moved.
So moved. This meeting is now adjourned.